Oh man, dang it! I wanted to blow this big cloud into the camera, and I totally fucking blew it. But whatever.
Well, in order to do that, you have to take a vape before you come out of the video.
Well, that and the fact that I don't want to blow a bunch of vapor at a $1,500 lens, so it's just like no. Yeah, there you go. It's like
You're such an elitist.
No, well.
Why?
Well, welcome everyone to Wednesday Night Live. Good to see everybody out there in chat. We got a lot to talk about tonight with all kinds of lawsuits flying around. We got both sides scrambling to figure out what to do next. Unfortunately, the consumer, us, we're kind of caught in the middle trying to figure out what's next. I'm sure, will we wake up one day and have nothing, no flavors, no nothing, smaller portions of products deemed okay by the FDA? And let's not forget, harder to acquire and very overpriced. Also, I want to thank Elena Hodlin for letting us use her picture for the thumbnail. Thank you for letting me do that. I kind of shot that. I was looking for an image to use for today, and that one popped up first on Facebook. So I went over and asked her, and she said she was more than happy to have that picture used. And before we start, before everyone starts asking where Tom is, Tom's taking a little personal time off. He'll be back. He's taking a little time off, but we have to have someone from Wisconsin on the show. So we got Morgan.
It's become a prerequisite into a successful show now.
You have to have a Midwesterner.
You have to have a Wisconsin.
Australia, we can get Aussies anytime we want.
It's hard. There's only two people. There's only two people in Wisconsin. It's Tom and Morgan.
That's right.
Go ahead, Paul. You had something you wanted to say right there.
Look, we can put as many Aussies on here as you want. That's not a dilemma. You just got to deal with our beer drinking, our swearing, and cussing it.
But we embrace that about you. We embrace that about the Australian culture because we wish that we had those similar freedoms. Like the drinking, we got that.
Yeah.
But like the swearing part,
yeah,
you guys have it down to a science. Like babies that come out of the womb in Australia are swearing. That their first word, I think, is a swear word.
I was going to say something. I was going to upset him. I was going to say they come out with the fucking Fosters in their hand cussing, but I knew that would upset, bro. Hey, Mike.
That's just bad taste. That is.
I know.
They come out. Where's my fucking beer?
Yeah,
exactly.
So what we're going to do today, I was trying to think about what to do today, and with everything going on, I thought we'd go back to the basics and try to kind of explain how to get started in advocacy. So I kind of put a little thing together today. And I have a shit ton of links and places that I would hope that most of you guys watching right now are already members of, but I think it's really important that we get all together in one group again and start fighting back. And so I kind of put a little bit of work together with links. So you're going to see links popping up in the chat. So if you don't belong to these groups, please do join them. I have some of them have Facebook group pages. Some of them have websites. Some have Twitter accounts. Some have Instagram. So I tried to pull all the links that I could possibly get. Even have Mr. Tim Swift's Twitter account, and I want you guys to get on over there and join Mr. Tim. Tim does both accounts. Tim takes care of his and also does the Wednesday Night Live Twitter account. So, So I just kind of wanted to break it down, and we've got Paul here from Australia. He's going to kind of give us a heads up on what's been going on over there as well, and just give us a heads up because if things are happening over there, things may happen the same way here and throughout the world. So I think you guys may be the testing grounds for a lot of things that may happen worldwide eventually. Am I right?
I hate saying that, but I feel like we're the petri dish.
Yeah.
Where the experiment's happening and we don't know the outcome. We don't know whether or not it's just going to go completely rancid or whether or not we're going to have a better result. But right now, it ain't good.
I did, Curtis, and there's a story behind why I did it.
We were talking about it before the show. Yeah. We know the story why he's doing this.
Yeah. I think I'll just get it out. I'll just get it out. I died. My dad has dementia, and my beard is completely gray, and he started not recognizing me. So a friend of mine suggested that I dye my beard and see if it worked with him before I shaved it off. I really didn't want to shave it off, but if I had to for my dad, I would. So I dyed it, and it worked. My dad looked at me and said my name. So that to me is worth it. I'm going to get whatever made fun of, whatever, but it worked for my dad. So that's all that matters.
That's true.
Yeah.
It looks good on you. And that's a far better reason than what I thought. And I just thought you were going for the Steven Seagal look.
Oh God, no, dude. The last thing I look at product wise on shelves is hair dye. I mean, I didn't dye my hair, my head. It's gray, a lot of gray up there, but it was just, it got so gray it got so gray that I just, my dad just didn't recognize me anymore. And he just kind of stared at me. So I said, okay, let me try this. And it worked. It worked. So
right on.
Said my name. So let's get into this. And I kind of have these broken down, and we're going to kind of talk about the first one. And I think it's the most important one to get started. And it's the fundamental, how would I would say?
Fundamental.
Part of getting started.
Yes.
And that is signing up for Twitter. Tim, I'm going to start with you. Why is it important to start with Twitter?
I think that Twitter is probably the best platform. I mean, granted that in a lot of cases, especially in a show like this, because we're really surrounded by family and co-supporters, because it really is a community effort to get people to stay away from smoking, and we have something to share in common. However, when we talk about the advocacy world and we talk about speaking out, a lot of us don't really feel like we have a voice. And when we want to utilize that voice, it's not a wrong thing to, channel that through Facebook or other social media platforms. But Twitter tends to be the place where you can actually get heard by the actual people that you're voicing out against. Now, that doesn't mean that they privately comment back to you or engage with you. However, like with Twitter, it's the actual people that are managing their accounts. So whether, they're supposed to be managing our country on a daily basis, they do spend a considerable amount of time posting there. So if you want your opinion heard and seen by a broader audience, especially people on the other side who might support that other person's views, they're going to see those same threads and those same comments, and they're going to read your counter commentary opposing them, or at least trying to call them out for some of the propaganda and nonsense. So it does make a difference in that regard. I think your audience is broader, your unseen audience is a little bit broader.
Yeah. And as far as the worldview on Twitter, you get an opportunity, like people from Paul's neck of the woods are tweeting their situation. So it gives you, right, Paul? I mean, it gives you a look at the whole world, not just your one area.
Well, Twitter's really become our battleground. And if you want to get in touch with like lawmakers in just about any country, they've got an account on Twitter. Twitter's a lot more powerful than what people actually think. And even if you wanted to get in touch with your reps, your state reps in the United States, they've got Twitter accounts. We go after the TGA, the FDA, CDC on a daily basis, only because they're doing the wrong thing.
Right.
Simple.
Yeah.
And sometimes they will interact with you. If you're not an idiot, I've learned something recently on Twitter. A, don't swear at people. Right. B, try ever so hard to be as nice as possible. C, if they do reply to you and it's a lot of waffle, show them the truth, show them the facts, show them where you can go and find the information. It's right. It's better than this platform, actually. But if, for argument's sake, and
this platform gives you a voice, a face to the voice.
Correct. That as well. But Son of Liberty, like, you broadcast on YouTube, on Facebook, and they do it also on Twitter. The more you can actually get faces to the voices and what the people Wait, no. What? Yeah, I swear as well. Don't you worry. But
You don't swear.
no bullshit.
But
you can honestly get a lot more traction there.
Yeah.
You show them the science, you show them the truth, you show them who's actually doing all the bad actors in the background. You can bring them forward.
Right.
And you can call them out.
Yeah. How are you using it, Morgan? Are you been?
Okay, so I had a Twitter long time ago. Didn't tried to use it. I spent more time on Facebook than I ever did Twitter, and then eventually I ended up getting rid of it. I will admit I have yet to get it back.
So you're the one we're going to get back tonight. We're going to get you to sign up live tonight, and you're going to tweet live for the first time on our show. And Tim will pick. Tim
No
will
pressure.
pick the retweet for you. He will.
Okay,
No
here.
pressure.
I will download the app right
Yes,
now.
we're
There
gonna
you go.
Yeah, I just
If
like
you have
all of-
one mission on Twitter, Morgan, it's not to share your knitting secrets. It's to advocate for vaping.
And honestly, that will probably be the only reason I go on to it, because I share my stuff, Facebook, Instagram.
Nah,
we're gonna get you tonight. We're gonna get you.
I think it's a great platform for multiple types of communities.
Right.
For me, it started out as, what is this Twitter thing? And I have no idea what to talk about. And then when all of this started really stirring up, there you go. When all this started stirring up, I was like, this is an excellent platform for me to advocate, because I didn't feel like, with the circle that I keep on Facebook, that my advocacy behind vaping would really matter to many people at all. Like most people who are in my friend pool aren't going to give two rats' asses about the fact that I vape, and I really don't want to start those battles there.
Oh yeah, because I know if I posted it there, oh Lord, I'd be starting battle.
Yeah. So Twitter for me puts me right into the community of people that I'm wanting to associate with in that fight. And then I also, then you start to figure out who to pay attention to that is the opposition, and how you can counter that. Now, like Paul said, you really do have to approach it with some sort of measured, tact. You can't just be like, fuck you, that's what you want to say. That's what we all want to say. But that's not productive. Now, like a perfect example, Paul, you could probably know this, John, you can know this, is that when we had the previous Surgeon General, I forget his name.
Gottlieb.
No, after Gottlieb, the bald guy. The bald guy. Anyway, he was on there, and he drew so much hate from everybody, and he would get just beat the living hell up by people, and people just were kind of coming at him very terse and stuff, and he didn't react to that well. Like it shut him down. Like he actually engaged people and commented back. Like he wanted to counter and hear people's opinions against why he was advocating the way that he was advocating, which was the one that we always hear, and it's about the kids and all this stuff. Anyway, long story short, but people would just be really kind of snarky with him. And he's like, why should I spend my time talking to you if that's how you're going to address me? Right. Not to, make you feel like you're bowing to some king, but it was like, maybe had we taken a different approach,
right.
It might have gone over a little bit better.
Yeah.
Jerome Adams.
That's him. Yeah. That's the dude.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main problems. I think that the actual poster gets to a certain point where it's just like, okay, now this isn't productive. We're just cussing back and forth at each other. Nothing's being learned from here. We're just cussing and yelling and screaming back and forth. Everybody out there, please, that's watching right now, throw that Twitter account handle of yours in the chat so I can go back later and find anybody that I'm not following.
Or you can just follow me on Twitter.
I got you. I am going to start off with Tim's Twitter account. So hold on. Here it is. I'm going to post
You can't miss me. I look exactly the same.
He looks exactly the same.
I look exactly the same.
It is in there right now. It's in there, and I will post it on the Facebook side too as well. But get on over there and follow Tim, and but everybody throw theirs out there for us to follow you back. If for not just us, but anybody else watching the show can go back and follow you guys. I think we need to build that back up, and Twitter is a big part of it. And I'm going to throw the Twitter account for the Wednesday Night Live show also in there. Get on over there. Tim runs that too.
There it is. Look out. She's one step closer.
Downloaded. I gotta create my account.
Knitting Queen 21.
And then you got to send blood. You got to send a blood sample, fingerprint sample, some DNA spit, just so they know it's you.
Yeah, and here's a little tip. Here's a little tip for new people who are new to Twitter, and you're wanting to quickly sort of like build a group that you want to follow that kind of all sort of focus on the same thing. Go to any one of our Twitter accounts and look at our profile and look at it says following on ours, and look at our followers, and then you can just kind of go through that list, and you can just start tagging them and start following them, and then that'll real quickly build your audience, an audience for you.
Yeah, and I'm putting in some of the people that I think you should be following, and one that I'm entering right now is Greg Connolly. You should be following Greg's page. That handle is put in there right now. Matt Curley. I always wonder if I say that name.
No, it's not. No,
Matt Cully.
Cully, Matt Cully.
There's no Aria Speedwagon hard R in there.
Yeah, I know. That is in there as well. Another one to follow. I am going to put in there as well. Florida Smoke Free Association. Our good friend Nick Orlando. I'm going to put that handle in there as well. That's in the chat, and let me make sure I got all of them. And then eventually Morgan, when she decides what her name is going to be, we will start
picking out my
following
profile picture right now.
Okay, that's the hardest part, Morgan. Gotta have a killer profile pic on there.
American Vapor Association. I think I got that one.
It's like right. LinkedIn, but not.
But I'm gonna. Yeah, I think that's the right one. I think it's at AVA Board. I think AVA Board. I'm gonna put that.
What's up, Phil? I didn't say hi to anybody. What's up, Mallory? What's up, Luke? Luke is in the house. Toe the rebel who got kicked off of Twitter 18 times. Curtis is following up with 17. We got Liana in the house. We got I saw Hunter was in there. Hunter's new. Scott Lavender. He's new. I don't know Scott. What's up, Scott? How you doing, man? Victor's here. Curtis is here, of course. Yeah, Mike Pells, I saw him earlier. He's getting ready to unload on us at some point, I know. We got Evan's here.
Phil, Anthony. Put yours in there as well, Phil. Paul, put yours in there as well.
Hey, I have already. Yeah, it's already there.
Perfect. Yeah. I got Casals is in there as well right now.
Yeah, one that you need to be following is I'm a racing mum. That is Skip Murray, right? I'm going through everyone that you should be following.
And get Charles Gardner in there too.
Yeah, Charles Gardner.
I'm doing vaping IT, who is Kevin Crowley.
Yeah,
he's another one that you need to be following. I'll just keep putting all out.
Yeah, just keep paying attention to the chat. You're going to get lots of handles.
The handles, yeah. And guys, that's where I think. Well, I don't know what these guys think, but that's where I think you should start.
I think that's a great start.
Yeah, it's a great start. Number 2. It's important, especially if you live in the U.S. Join fucking CASA. Please join CASA. There's no other place out there that is going to give you not just your local stuff, but it's going to keep you updated with federal stuff, all states, everything, your calls of action, all that stuff is right there. I am going to put all their stuff in the thing. I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll see how it works out here. Hold on. Let me. I'm going to go ahead and start with Tim there. Tim, why is it important to join CASA?
It's important to join CASA for exactly the same reasons that John just mentioned. So if you want to stay in the know in terms of the consumer advocate market and you want to know about all of the federal and state level actions that are levied against vaping, especially like towns and cities and areas that are looking to have flavor bans and things like that. You can specifically pay attention to your area. So if you have something coming up and there's a legislation on the table and you have a chance to speak up, the one thing that's important to know about CASA is that it's not some mysterious organization that is put together by these people behind the scenes that have something to do with running the vape industry. Basically, they are you, they are us. They are consumer advocates, fellow vapers, people who believe in fighting the good fight and trying to inform people as much as possible so that you can get out there and fight some of this stuff that's going on. CASA is an excellent portal for that because you will know about all of the regional and federal legislation that is trying to take the vaping industry down so you can fight.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
And now, as far as you guys over there, I mean, do you guys keep track of what's going on through CASA or use different sites to keep up with that stuff? How do you use CASA there?
What, here in Australia?
Yeah, in Australia.
Yeah, I'm a member of CASA. Yeah. There's quite a lot of Australians that are members of CASA now. We follow the calls to action and we try and help you guys as well. It's a two-way street here.
Right.
And I've said this time and time again in the past on different shows that this is a worldwide family. Mm-hmm. It's not just the United States. It's not just Canada. It's not Australia. It's a worldwide family. That's what the vaping community is. If we need help over there, right, we'll all go over and help. You need help over there, we'll all go over and help. Yeah. It's how it should be.
Right.
And a lot of us from around the world would never have met. If it wasn't for this technology, we would never have met.
Right.
Right.
I've got, I don't know, probably about 1,200 followers on Twitter, and I've got friends from all over the world, and all of them have said, if you're ever in my neck of the woods, let's sit down for a beer, a meal.
Right.
If you need a place to crash, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool as hell.
Yeah. That's the one thing I learned real quick when I got into vaping is just the community. I was just blown away. I've been in, like I said before, I've been in a lot of clubs. And I'm going to date myself, the Elks Club, the Italian clubs, all these other clubs. But the community that groups of people that are in this one, it blew me away. Everybody was just like, hey, you're in San Diego, just like Paul said, you're in San Diego, come visit. You need a place to stay. Every time I said, every single event that I wanted to attend, vape event, the first thing I've gotten in my DM when I said I was going, do you need a place to stay? And I thought, who the fuck does that? They have no idea who I am, but yet they're opening their homes to let me have a place to say, hey, you can't find a hotel? Hey, I got a couch with your name on it. I'm like, all right. I think it's important. How have you been using CASA, Morgan? You've been getting the emails, opening them. That's the important part. We're going to talk about that.
Well, yeah, and it's important too because they also let you know what's going on, locally in because we can talk about what's going on, on the overall like federal level, but it's also important too to pay attention to your particular state and what's going on in your state, because it starts at the local level with any kind of advocacy. You have to start from the bottom and eventually work your way up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think that's important to note too, because the federal wheels tend to turn a little bit slower than your local municipalities will, but it's convoluted because every state's different. But yeah, you do need to watch at your city level too, because you could be 1 minute fine and then find out tomorrow that your city has legislation on the table to institute a flavor ban, and nothing's happened at the federal level. And now you're like, oh my God, I have to drive theoretically to the next city, or it could be my state overall. We have people who are in the vape community, their whole entire state has been shut down. They can't even get shipments in. So I mean, that's why the support network must remain connected. So CASA is just a big fulcrum in a lot of that.
I'm going to take you to the page so you can see what CASA is all about. And CASA is a website that's dedicated to us, the consumers, run by consumers. And what they're going to do, I'm sorry, I don't not like not having Tim's face in there, so I'm going to have to hold on and take it.
That's okay.
Bam, there it is.
That was my Halloween costume.
It's a border. You're going as a border.
Yeah, I was just going to go as the Join CASA banner.
What you're going to be able to do there at that site is, for one, get registered. That's important, is getting registered, and you're going to start getting emails, especially for calls of action in your state or your community, your city, your county, depending on what's going on at the time, and also your federal level. So anything that's going on nationwide, you're going to get a call in action, and that's one of the things we want to talk about tonight. These guys understand that CASA knows when you click and open their email. And when they have a percentage of less than 60% of people opening their emails is terrible, guys. Whether you're getting that email, remember one thing, you're not getting spammed by CASA, correct, guys? You're not getting spammed by them. You are getting a specific email designated for you. And it may be, like I said, it may be for your state, maybe your county, depends on how active the people are within your county, or it could be something federal. So it's really important that you open that and read that email. And if it is a call of action, click the link and go fill out everything. And we're going to show you how simple and easy it is to fill out that form. A lot of times we all have autofill. It's done for you guys. It's all done. The other thing that's really awesome about CASA is you're going to learn who your representatives are. And that's the best part of this, because a lot of times, we talked about this before, some people don't even know who their mayor is. And I understand that. When you're young, in your 20s, you really don't give a crap about who's the mayor, who's your city councilman. Morgan's laughing because she's one of those people, aren't you, Morgan?
Listen,
I'm not going to lie.
You're right. I'm 22. Yeah. I'll admit, I don't know who the mayor is in this city.
Yeah. I mean, I was too.
But I can at least say that I know, a few of, the representatives. I know who the governor is.
Yeah.
And that's more than I can say most people my age would.
Right. I mean, I was the same way. Tim, probably, we didn't care. We just, we kind of got upset when we saw how much of our money was being taken out of our checks, but we really never took it any further than that. We would just kind of go, motherfucker, and then just kind of go deposit our check, Am I right, Tim?
That's right. I mean, I'll be honest, I really didn't. Politics was never a major factor in my life. I never felt like I really had too much that I felt that I needed to stand up and defend. Yeah. And then it really became ramped up when the attack on vaping really didn't hit critical mass like it is now. But I mean, a few years ago when I realized, what they were trying to take away. Yeah. And then that's when you start to pay attention a little bit more, because it directly affects you, because, taxes are one thing, price of gas is another. But when they talk about this form of tobacco harm reduction, the fact that it got you away from cigarettes and it's saving your life, and now they want to take it away, you start to pay attention to who is in charge and who doesn't have your back.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So if you're not getting any emails, that could be a good thing from them. That kind of means there's nothing really going on locally, but you're always going to get something federally. So that's why it's important. You may live in one of those states or one of those counties that are just, they don't give a shit. They don't care about vaping. It's fine. They're going to keep getting their taxes and they're happy with it. But every now and then you might get a federal one, which there are plenty of them out there. Open those guys, open them up, read it, and act. That's all we're asking from you guys. Just open those, click that email, go to that link and read. And if it's asking for a call of action, go for it. And if you're not getting any of those emails, just go over to CASA's page and we talk about this. Click on the get involved and then click on nationally. And it'll give you everything that it's going on. And it'll tell you right here, we have a fight for vape tax and whatever calls to actions that are out there. So, that's really important that you guys Number one, sign up. And number two, stay active. That's the important part. Stay active. Click on that email, guys. See what it is. Don't just drag it to the bin.
Right.
Click it, open it, read it. Anything else you guys want to add on the CASA part?
Well, what I would, I mean, you are not limited to what you can voice up. You can voice out against. I would say, at least with the CASA side of things, if you do fill out the form to fight for legislation in another state, you're not. It may not go to the right people, because if you're voicing out about a flavor ban in Ohio and you fill out the form, it's not going to go to the Ohio representatives. It's going to go to your Georgia state representatives, and they're going to be like, what do you want me to do with this? So, you may have to pick an alternate. I mean, at least just speak in community about that. You can go voice your opinion on other channels. They do tell you where you can go to be part of the public hearings, the open commentary stuff too. So that's important to have.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Paul or Morgan, about CASA?
Well,
Good
the
people,
resource.
right? Good people.
Well, they're good people. We know most of the people
Yeah, we do.
that are part of CASA, or we've probably been in live shows with them over the years.
Yeah, we have here on WNL.
That's the strange part about it. Again, more really cool people, and you get to learn things.
Yeah,
I'm always open to learning.
Yeah,
use their resources. Use any links that they put out to you that might have a new report or a new study, whether it be good or bad. I don't care. You got to read both sides of it.
Thank you for reminding me. I forgot about the resource part of the page. I had that in my notes, but you just reminded me. Paul's right. It's a great resource too, and it'll help you just fight back. It'll help you understand. It's in simple terms. It'll help you be able to fight back with that anti-vapor who says, oh, you got, all these chemicals in here and lead, and your dick's gonna shrink, and all this stuff. You have the resources there. You can click them, read them, save them, and use that information. That's going to come down a little bit lower in the steps to getting involved in advocacy. Go ahead, Morgan.
If I can get to the damn unmute button. Anyway, there's, and I forget if it was you, John, who said it, or somebody said it not too long ago. And of course, I can't remember who.
It's probably Tim.
Maybe. Don't know.
If it's smart, it was Tim.
But there's a point at which if you're arguing with the same, person, for example, like in my family, my mother, no matter how many times you try to tell her or point her in the right direction of, articles that, support vaping, yada, 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 there's no changing her mind.
Right.
Like, there just isn't. You can talk till you're blue in the face, and it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important, with CASA, with using CASA, with using Twitter, whatever, that it's important to kind of recognize when someone is willing to hear you out versus when someone is just gonna be stubborn, and just not willing to listen.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're wasting your time. I mean, you're wasting your time with this person who clearly doesn't give a shit.
Right.
Versus you could be talking to somebody who is, will genuinely listen to you, and perhaps, you can change their mind.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. How do you guys go about how do you decide, okay, I'm done with the back and forth on Twitter, whether it's Twitter, Facebook? I mean, is it the name calling and then you're done?
No. I never really have elevated to that level, but I have decided to get involved because it's not always the heavy hitter people. Sometimes you just have, the Karen next door who is making a tweet about it or something like that, or you get some low level organization person Well, no, like a low level organization person who's just sort of like, someone that's in the organization who's, and they'll make all this commentary, but you can really quickly tell when the conversation is just going to stay sour. Like they'll block you pretty quick. Like it's like if you start commenting and you even are sharing facts and you're making logical arguments to the things that they said that are basically just their own sort of propaganda machine, and you start giving them actual facts, real quickly, you'll be like, "Ooh, that was a good one." And then you'll like walk away for like 3 minutes. You'll come back, and then you'll be like, you can no longer see the tweets by this person or something like that. And it's like, how are we supposed to make any progress? Like, I'm not attacking that person. I'm not trying to belittle that person or make them feel stupid. I'm just arguing their point because they're standing very strongly behind what they think, which is not necessarily true or true at all. And so you try to share that logic with them, and then they shut you down. And I'm like, I think that's that's their loss. I mean, and it's unfortunate because you really lose an opportunity to try to change some opinions, because it's like, see, this is exactly how it's going to go. They're not going to spend the time to try to understand where all of us are coming from. Like and the first thing that they'll argue too is, I mean, they'll jump on the kid boat all the time, and they completely discount the fact that it's like, we just completely don't give a rat's ass about kids vaping. It's like, no, we don't want the kids vaping either, but you're missing the bigger picture.
Right.
Is that, this is saving lives, that this is helping people quit a smoking habit, but you're so hell-bent on protecting the kids and getting rid of vaping, you fail to try to listen to the other side of that argument, or understand that we are on your side in a lot of ways too.
Right. How do you know, Paul? When do you just like, all right, I'm done? Because there are some individuals, like Tim is saying, that they just block you, but there are those that will just continue. I mean, they'll go 4 days with you. How do you know about? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. How do you know?
Well, I was involved in a thread 2 weeks ago, I think it was, somewhere around there. The thread went for over 170 comments, but like backwards and forwards. I thought, okay, you really are a muppet.
Yeah.
But I tried explaining to this person that has a product in the market here in Australia, and I thought, well, okay, I'll show you the other side of the chemistry to what you're trying to put forward. And he didn't understand that. And I thought, that sucks. Why won't you take anything from our side? And he didn't understand. Yeah. Yet you're putting a product into the market, but you don't understand. Well, he said it was an ethical decision on their part to use NETs, naturally extracted tobacco flavors. And I went, oh, yeah, that's so 2015. Please, we're way beyond that in chemistry now. Yeah. Let's really talk, dollars and cents. And he wouldn't understand that again. Yeah, he said, but we don't know the outcomes of these other products that you're talking about. And I said, actually, we do. And I can back it up with the chemistry, the data sets, and the proof. Yeah. And still, deaf ears. I just went, all right, I'll leave you alone now. Bye-bye.
God, I couldn't imagine.
I left him alone.
A thread for 100 and something. I think I would have gave up about 10 or 20. I would have been just
but then the heavyweights weighed in. You had Charles Gardner weigh in. You had Clive Bates weigh in. You've got serious heavyweights weighing in on this thread. And I'm like, ooh, here we go. And he still wouldn't listen. I'm like,
yeah. See, that's where you have to that's why I'm trying to, where do you draw the line? It's just like there's a moment where you have to say to yourself, all right, I'm done with you, bud. I'm just done with you.
You can tell pretty quickly, well, A, if they don't block you first.
Yeah.
And B, you can tell that if you're, again, providing information, providing facts, and they still go on and on and on, you know damn well you're not going to get through to them.
Yeah,
No, but do you ever notice though that particular side of the argument are real quick to block you and sort of bring their conversation right into their own bubble? Like Mallory brought up a great point. Like Pave did like a live kind of like Zoom forum thing, whatever. They had a bunch of people on there. They literally removed like every counter commentary comment that a pro advocate vaping person left. I mean, that's how much they'll try to erase you. However, the people from the vaping community, the ones that were on there, like, we don't have a problem with people coming on our threads and saying stuff like, and 9 times out of 10, the stuff that they do come back with is just asinine, stupid little comments. Like, they don't actually really make a counter argument. You know what I mean? They just make some, I just recently had Jar Jar Binks follow me. Okay, it's an account out there, and all they do is spend all their time going on everybody else's threads and making these really retarded little comments. Right. And it's like, I'm not going to follow Jar Jar back because there's really, like, they don't only comment on, like, that particular account owner doesn't only talk about vaping. Like, they attack a bunch of different stuff. Right. But I'm not going to get rid of them as a follower or blog. They're welcome to come and say whatever they want to say, but I'm only going to address stuff that I feel is worth addressing. I'm not going to comment back just to comment back.
All right,
right. And that's you know, my point is that, I mean, if you can tell that somebody is actually going to be, you know, will willingly engage with you, you know, in a conversation, that's different. But if you're, you know, again, showing them stuff and either, well, and most of the time they have nothing to say back other than calling you names. Yeah. Which is typically, you know, which is the, you know, primary, you know, scenario.
Yeah. So we're laughing at Mr. Nick Orlando on the Facebook.
I know, but I'm also now laughing at Mallory. Mallory, you're going to pay for that one. All right, you're really going to pay for that one. You know, I said to myself that I'm not going to mention his name.
Yeah.
Oh, man, please.
Let's get into number 3. Number 3 is a simple one. We're already on there. Join Facebook groups designed for advocacy. Yes, we have. They're out there, right, guys? They are out there. There are groups.
There are. They're a little bit quieter now than I think they used to be on Facebook. I have nothing against the advocacy groups. But it's like we bring up on a lot of the shows and repeat, is that when you get into those groups are sort of like you're within your own bubble, right? Like you're just basically talking to people that are going to agree with you. And and while that feels good to have people acknowledge like a comment that you're making as being a valid point, you're not really selling anybody anything in those groups.
Well, the reason I have the group part in is a great place to get resources. Maybe you know, an article that you didn't see, a local article that you didn't see on CASA. It gives you an opportunity to see different comments, helps you with resources, links to other pages that you might not have known about. So that's why I put them in there, because they're a great resource for finding a lot of stuff, especially if it's a very active group. And that's important. So, you know, I hate saying look for big groups. Don't, because sometimes the smaller 125, 200, maybe 1,000, those are great groups as well, because sometimes most of those people are more dedicated than, say, the group that has 25, 30,000 followers on there. So use these groups for resources. Find, you know, like I said, there's always an article in one of these groups that I see that I didn't see anywhere else. And then all of a sudden I have some more firepower to use against the ain'ts. So I got a couple of the main ones. Everyone that we have, including CASA and Florida Smoke Free Association, has their own. Greg's got his own page. You can always go over to Greg, sign that. American Vaping Association has. I think they have one. I didn't find it.
I think almost everybody's going to have one. Yeah, and CASA even has your local demographical groups too. So while there's the primary CASA group, like you'll find the CASA page for your state, like Georgia or New York or Illinois or whatever. You can get on those ones too, and hopefully try to get information from those points as well. But what's important too is a lot of people don't really know what to talk about. When we say, yeah, get on Twitter and talk about stuff, the best way to go is bring information that speaks the truth. And in those advocacy groups, you will get articles shared left and right that I'll give you fuel for the fire.
Yeah. And that's the important thing, and that's number 4. So we're gonna is using these Facebook groups. Sign up for them, join them, click on the links, get conversations started. Who knows? A lot of times you might find some individuals that are in your area, and maybe that'll help you when there is a call to action in your area. You have a list of people that live within your state or city that are in that group. You guys can get together. I don't want to say protest or whatever you want to do, but you can get together and work together as a group, as your own little group within, that advocacy group. Hey, we represent Wisconsin. We all live in Wisconsin. This is a group. I know we're all here and we're all within 10, 15, 20 minutes. That's the fun part of being in those groups, is finding people that live by you and being able to use those people to help each other out for this cause. So keep that in mind. Number 4, start researching and get educated in your cause. That's what Tim was talking about. So you don't act like a fool when you are on Twitter and you have the resources and knowledge that you need to debate someone without having to call them an asshole or a jerk or a dickhead or a cunt.
Facts versus feelings, right?
That's it. Facts versus feelings. Paul, talk a little bit about researching, getting education in your cause.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Do the hard one at you?
No, well, that's what I do on a daily basis. I've now started another business, which is it's still in the vape space, don't get me wrong, but this is putting together data sets, putting together science, putting together proper manufacturing processes for liquid, things like that. Science is probably one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't really understand about this industry and what actually goes into making a liquid and making a device for that matter. They're 2 things that you really need to understand. If you don't understand how liquid's made, I suggest that you learn, because a lot of people will find it fascinating. It's not just throwing this, and this together and, I've got $1 million selling liquid. It doesn't work that way anymore. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, I think, don't you think that I think a lot of people feel like, oh God, they're always going to throw that back. You're not an MD. You're not an MD. So I think a lot of times that's frustrating for you, me, to try to use those links and those studies.
I get that quite a lot when I post specific studies and real data sets that are done by the professionals, and I put them out there, and then people either try and take one little word in that study and go, but it's got this. Okay. Do you understand what parts per million means?
Yeah.
Like there was the little word next to it was ppm.
Yeah.
Parts per million. And they didn't understand what ppm stood for. They thought, this is another bad chemical. Oh my God. Face palm.
Yeah.
They didn't understand. Read the international studies that are being put together by people that are a lot smarter than what we are. A lot smarter. And last night I was sitting in on a conference, and one of the best things that was actually said, that it was doctors back in 1970 that knew, after the Royal College said that smoking was bad for you. Then the Surgeon General came out and said it. It was the doctors that actually started tobacco harm reduction. And then roll the clock back about 30 years, they stopped doing that completely and got brainwashed by the big pharma companies saying, well, we've got this product, that product, whatever product that will help you get away from combustibles. Yet this industry, if it's not choked whole and is allowed to flourish and grow beyond what it currently is, will be probably the biggest, how would you put it? The biggest force in public health that has ever been seen in our lifetime. And when I heard that, I went, wow, 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 wow. That's mind-blowing. That the doctors lost their way and now they're finding their way back.
Yeah.
But they're being silenced, which is horrifying.
Yeah.
It's absolutely horrifying.
How about for you, Tim? How do you go about? How do you go about when you read an article? What are you looking for that you want to use that's not going to make you? I hate saying this, but not look like you're too smart or too cocky because you're using a portion of this. You know what I'm saying? How do you decide what part of an article that you or a study that you want to use?
I try to look for information that because a lot of it can get very skewed, especially when you get into sort of like research studies and things like that. I mean, a lot of that's going to be information that most people aren't even really going to kind of latch onto. I try to find key points in an article that are eye-opening or sort of an epiphany kind of stuff. Like just look at this basic fact. Like if you can get a solid basic fact, and we'll talk about one tonight in the news section. Yeah. I don't want to bleed it now because I feel like it would just ruin the whole entire point of the news segment tonight. But you try to find a key point that if you can put it out there that other people are willing, they go, that would open some eyes and make people realize that there is some, funny business that's going on behind the scenes that is shaded by sort of, I think, an overall weak argument anyway. I mean, you try to find something that would wake people up a little bit. Like, you know what, you're right. I mean, that does make a very valid point because you're never going to get everybody on your side, but you want some kind of a key factor element. Take something like something from the Cochrane study or something like that, where you can take a basic number and you can show them in a couple sentences what the retention rate is on someone who's using e-cigarettes over NRTs or medications or counseling and things like that, and you can show them and say, this is the percentage of people who are succeeding at quitting smoking using vaping compared to what you think is the better alternative, which is the NRT or the Chantix or the counseling or just going cold turkey or whatever. Like, those are not succeeding. So I try to find, I don't want to call it a gotcha thing, but it's kind of a gotcha thing. And I got a good one tonight.
Gotcha. You got some clickbait.
Well, if you're following my Twitter feed, you probably would have already picked up on it. But.
Yeah. How about you? How do you go about reading something and then trying to make it or trying to absorb that and use that later when you're rebutting someone that says, "Oh, you're gonna die"? Popcorn lungs. Oh, I love that one. That one's back. That's making a comeback, guys. Popcorn lungs making a comeback.
So, if college has taught me anything, and believe me, it's taught me
how to roll a joint,
how to do a keg stand.
I mean, trust me, it's taught me very, very few
okay,
things
just
in
checking
life so far. But it's how to summarize.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for my degree, as of late, I've had to look at tons of scholarly, peer-reviewed articles and summarize them and then give my opinion. So, my whole thing is that when I'm reading an article, I read through it, and if I don't feel like reading through the whole thing, typically, I go down to their results. I briefly do look through their methodology because you never know sometimes with these studies exactly what their methodology was, and if maybe that was flawed.
Yeah.
But chances are you're going to find nuggets of information that are key points that in the case of using Twitter, where you have to be very
you're limited. Yeah, it's hard.
Right. chances are you're going to find a few things that are, flashy statements, so to speak. So, but I mean, that's what I do. I go through the article and I pick out a few points that I want to make too. I mean, you have to kind of know what points you want to make to people too.
Right.
And so when you find articles that relate to the point that you want to make, then it's it's just summarizing, really.
Yeah, for me too, I do the same thing. I kind of look at it and read it, and I kind of try to. I want to simplify it, make it a little bit easier for the average person to understand, because there are some things in there people will look at it and they're just like, what the fuck is that?
Scientific, terminology, things like that. Yeah.
So keep them simple. Try to find key points in these surveys. Don't post the whole thing, because I'll tell you right now, if you are able to post a whole resource thread, no one's going to read the whole thing. They're just going to skip right by it. And not that Twitter gives you that ability, but there are some, like a Facebook group page. Nobody wants to see a post that is like this long. They're not going to read it. They're not even going to look through it. Take some key points that you want, and then save those key points for yourself to use later in conversation. When someone walks up to you while you're vaping outside, you have that knowledge, that resource. So use that. And again, be nice, be courteous. You're not going to change everybody's opinion. Kind of like, remember that. That's like the biggest thing to remember, is that you're not going to change everybody's mind. So just, know when to walk away. The fifth one, this is the big one, guys. Dedicate time throughout the week for advocacy. So if you got to start small, start small. 1 tweet a day, or 10 minutes a day, or 20 minutes a day, and or however you want to do it. Just dedicate some time throughout the week. I know we're all busy. We all have things we're doing. But if you have time to go on TikTok and watch an hour's worth of nonsense, you have some time to either read a tweet, retweet a tweet, start a conversation on an advocacy group in Facebook, however you want to do it. Dedicate some time to a vape shop to help them out as far as getting advocacy out there. Anything that you can do, start small, work your way up, and let's start with the person that is the youngest in the group. How would you go about it? How would you go about it, Morgan? Dedicating, because you go to school, you're working, you got your home life stuff. Now you're on Twitter. So we're going to get you to tweet here pretty soon. Tim, did you find an article for her?
Yeah. Find me an article to tweet.
I got plenty.
He's got plenty.
Right. So, I mean, here's the thing. I think we can all admit that we do spend at least some of our time on social media, whether we're just aimlessly scrolling, whether we're writing a post, we're all on social media to some extent. So for me, I mean, it's really not that hard because I'm on my phone, looking at something on Instagram or watching a YouTube video. I would not, make the excuse that, I don't have time.
Right.
Because, it's just, but I've always been told that, if something's important, to you, you'll make time.
Right.
And that's kind of ultimately just what it is.
Yeah. And it's as simple as just retweeting someone's post. It's that simple, guys. It's just you're another voice, and you may have a lot of different followers than the person that you're retweeting the post from. So you may have 40, 50, 100 different people. That gives your voice out there and lets them see that. So start that way. Start with Twitter and repost. Just repost once a day. Repost somebody's stuff. Paul, I see you got you more going to get it out. Lay it out, Paul. What were you trying to say?
Nothing. I don't twist anyone's arms.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
Yeah, I know nothing. But yeah, I mean, start small. Start with a retweet. Get signed up on Twitter. Start with a little retweet, and if that's how you need to go about, getting started, do that. Retweet something. Tim,
gotta
you
start
got
following me. I don't have any notifications yet.
it.
What happened?
Really?
What is it?
Okay.
Did you put it out there?
I posted my handle in the comments. What
I'll do it again. So you might have got lost.
What was it?
You might have got lost.
It's
Hold on.
Exactly. That's it. That's the simplest way to get started in advocacy is just retweet somebody's stuff, and it's just a simple thing. It takes what couple seconds to retweet something. That's it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Retweeting is one of the more convenient ways of pushing a valid point forward and getting people to. Oh, okay. I see it. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I do that a portion of the time now. I mean, but I kind of split that up between either posting my own stuff,
Right.
retweeting somebody else's stuff, or jumping in on one of the, anti threads, PAVE or Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, or, any one of those that typically will parrot stuff, a few times a day. They'll come up all the time.
Yeah, and when you're on Twitter and you go to your feed, you're going to open that up and you're going to see some tweets in there, and there might be one that you want to retweet more than the others, and this gives you an opportunity to go in there. When you open it, you're going to see everybody's notifications from everybody that you are following, and their tweets are going to be in there. And that's how I go. I'll go through that list and I go, okay, this is I'm going to retweet this because it needs some love. The thing that I have noticed. And it's sad because, I always look at the person's name and how many people are following them. And I judge that number by the retweets. And when I see these, when I see someone with 10,000 followers and simply, 23 retweets, that makes me feel really bad. It's just like, okay, how many of these 10,000 people are reading these tweets or paying attention to what this person's saying and how important it is to get that word out? And if they were just to retweet that and draw that and get that out there, it moves it up their algorithm in Twitter and it gets visible. And that's the whole point about retweeting stuff is getting that out there, getting it. Remember what happened? Was it not this year, last year? We finally got a hashtag trending on Twitter.
Vaping saves lives is one of them. Quit lying. We stole that from another group who was accusing us of being liars. So we said, no, you quit lying, and we stole their hashtag.
Yeah.
And then there was one, We Vape, We Vote was another popular one for a period of time. I think Vaping Saves Lives is probably the most used one.
Right.
On a consistent basis, and what you'll see with in most people's posts.
And that's what we need to do with the retweets, guys. When you're retweeting stuff, you're not only letting that person know that you retweeted, but you're letting your followers see that tweet. They're going to see it. And if you can get half or 10% or 20% of those people to actually stop and read that tweet and maybe draw some interest in our community and what's going on, that's the important part of it. And who knows, maybe 5% of those people actually retweet it, and that hashtag gets trending. And that's what we need to happen on Twitter. If we want to get ourselves seen and heard, we need to trend. We need to have our hashtag trending. And I wish we could come up, if vaping saves lives, if that's our hashtag, every single one of us should be using that hashtag every time they tweet something. It should be used. No matter what you're trying to say, use that hashtag. We need to keep it trending and keep us up there. It's important.
Yep, Louder's another one. Thank you, Abdul. I mean, we are literally just a group of just consumer advocates right here. I mean, we really don't have. Our dog in the fight is the same thing that you have in the fight too. So that's why we're here, and we just try to keep the community feeling positive about what we're trying to do here, even though it's a lot of doom and gloom around us. So never stop fighting.
And the last one, now you're ready. Now, if you go through this process 1 through 6, you are ready.
Do I get my coin for my 12-step program?
It won't be a Bitcoin, but it'll be a coin. Okay. Bitcoins are just too expensive right now. $64,000. So, I mean, at this point, if you follow this process and you go through this, you are ready. You are now ready. You have the resources that you need. You have the people backing you up, and you understand what's going on, and you can actually have a debate or discussion with someone else, I believe, in our group, and you're not going to just go, I hate saying it, the F word, whatever, and just, be pissed off and be angry. But if you follow these steps, I think you'll be prepared to retweet on Twitter, to talk to groups on Facebook. I didn't add the one important thing that I should have added to this, but you're actually ready now to talk to people in and around you, and that's the important part. And so you're not just saying, hey, just it saved my life. Well, how did it save your life? Now you have the resources, and I think that's important as well, is discussing your journey with people around you. Man, if you have somebody that walks up to you, I know it doesn't happen as much as it used to, but ask you what you're doing, what is that? If you still get that, that is a golden opportunity to get that person on our side, especially if they ask you, what is this? What are you doing? How come it smells so good? Why does it smell like a fucking fruit basket over here? This is your opportunity. So go ahead, Tim. What do you say? What do you say about
what the plan that you've laid out?
That I laid out.
Well, no, I mean, I think really what this conversation is all about is that I don't think that there's too many vapors left that don't really kind of understand what's at stake and what's going on now at this point. And it's going to hit home even harder now in places in the world like Paul and his community. They've got it even worse than we have it right now. We still have things coming down the pike, but I mean, but they're a few steps ahead of us. But that's the point that I'm trying to make is that this is your opportunity to kind of learn how you can use your voice, because that's probably something that a lot of people may not really understand. They're like, I want to say something, I want to do something, but I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And so that's what we're trying to do, is provide you the avenues in order to be able to utilize that voice, because and it's like one of the hashtags that Liana shared. It's louder, hashtag louder. If we just stay quiet and we don't speak out on it, other than within our own community, and we're not loud enough to the people that need to hear what it is that we're fighting for, then we're stronger in mass. So the more voices, the better. The louder we are, the better. If they don't, people are going to discount us straight away. If they don't, I mean, they hear this number all the time. There's 13 million vapors that this is saving their lives, and if you only hear 500 to 1,000 talking about it, it's not going to make that impact on that number. So it takes everybody to get out there and at least, attempt to, fight for what you want. What do you want to keep vaping? Do you want flavors? Do you want to be able to still have this available to you down the pike? Becoming self-serving and getting quiet and going, well, I'll just figure out how to survive on my own. You got to think about the bigger community, and that this is for everyone. I mean, if you lose it, I lose it, but I want everybody else to still have a shot at having it too. I don't want it to be like I just crawl back into my hole and go, well, I'll just find a guy with the nearest trunk and I'll just buy whatever I can get my hands on. No, I know the reality and the truth behind this, and so I would rather fight for the common good than just my own self-serving requirement. I was going to say prophecy. I was going to say prophecy, but I'm not a prophet. So
you are the prophet. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to start a religious war out there. Follow Tim. The church.
See, and this is exactly what it's all about. Just like Will down here at the bottom, like the comment right there.
Hold on, I'll get to it.
Yeah, Will has asthma and quit smoking with vaping and breathing a lot better. See, I mean, these are the success stories. This is why it really needs to remain available for everybody. Yeah. And so, if you're fighting for everyone, I mean, you're basically, you got Will's back too. I mean, it saved his life.
Yeah. And that's important too in Twitter. When you are tweeting, when you're not retweeting stuff that is from someone else, make your post about your journey. Share the battle that you overcome with others, and let them understand how important the choices were for you, for your success. So, put that stuff down there. If you're not retweeting, talk about your stuff. Talk about, hey, I'm an ex-smoker. I've tried, blah, blah, blah. And, this many things over the last 20 years. This is share those personal stories because people read those. They love reading personal stories. So, and it gives them, you have less of a chance, I think, of someone arguing your point when you're putting personal facts like that out, especially when you're like, hey, I smoked for 25 years. I tried Zantac, I tried patches, I tried gums, I tried hypnosis. This is the only thing that's worked. I've been vape free for 7 years. It's kind of hard to argue that point. It's kind of hard. So, look into doing that. And we're going to jump in with before we do news here. Nick. Oh God. Paul.
Yes,
Paul. How are you, Paul?
Welcome to Monsters Incorporated.
Welcome to hell. Now, we wanted to you talk a little bit about what is going on in Australia. What was pissing you off? What isn't pissing you off?
What isn't pissing me off right now?
Yeah.
Well, 28 days into our lovely prescription model, and if your prescription doesn't say exactly what the pharmacist thinks it should say, you get sent back to the doctor again to have the script rewritten, and again, if it's wrong, you have to go back again. It's not working.
It's not
By the
working
way, at all.
I have a question for Paul. So how do those doctor visits go? Like, no, I mean, I'm curious. I'm curious. Okay, well, let's say I wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden we're following a prescription model. Like, I got to go in and sit down and talk to the doctor and try to explain to him where I'm at. Like, so you take us through the experience of the average vapor, someone who, is now kind of thrust into this. I mean, are they being coerced by the doctor and like, no, I don't know, no, you really don't need 6 milligram. I'm gonna go ahead and write you a script for 3. Like how is that parsed out from a doctor visit?
Okay, the doctors are under, even if they're authorized to prescribe said product, they're under no law whatsoever that they have to give you a prescription for nicotine or nicotine vaping liquids. They'll talk to you about all the very good sprays, patches, gums, and even, believe it or not, I know they exist, nicotine suppositories. I know they're out there.
Damn,
I know they're out there
fucking
somewhere. They fucking are.
Almost.
No,
when you need it right now.
Yeah, well, rocket rides weren't that much fun back in the day, but that sounds like a whole new ball game. But they're under the rules of you've got to try the sprays, the gums, the patches. Vaping is not a frontline type situation. It's third tier, where they're still handing out Champix or Chantix or whatever you want to call it here, even though the FDA has pulled it.
Oh, wow.
But that doesn't make any sense. And then another old faithful is coming back, Zyban, another one that doesn't work really well.
Yeah.
So
Zyban.
Yeah. It was used for alcohol dependence and things like that. And if you drank with it and things like that, or you smoked, it stopped you from doing it. I tried all of that years ago, and it was an absolute nightmare. But the doctors, it's quite strange because what you'll get from a pharmacist is a pod device. That's about the size of it.
Okay.
And we still have to import all the liquids with nicotine in. They still won't allow us to manufacture here yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is quite stupid. Now, we put in a request, and I've been having discussions with the TGA recently. Oh, God. You need to drink a lot of beer after that and take a handful of painkillers because they do your head in. They won't listen either. And they're still banging on about the kids.
Yeah.
And I said, but why? Why are you doing that? Everything here, you know, once you reach 18, you can do pretty much anything you want. Now there is chatter here that they want to try and raise the smoking age to 21, a T21, the same as the United States.
Yeah.
What happens, though, to those smokers between the 18 and 21 bracket? Right. What happens in those years? That's 3 years that we're talking about here. So what? You got to give them sprays, gums, and patches or whatever. That's not going to work. And the black market is absolutely salivating at what's happening here in the country right now. We've watched in the past 18 months, like disposables go from, you'll see them here and there, to be litter on just about every street corner now, especially in the outer west of Sydney where I live.
Yeah.
Lower socioeconomic. So they used to smoke. Yeah. Therapy. Yeah. That's it. It's exactly what they want to do, right? Yeah. We can hit it with a big stick with this, but they don't want a part of it. They would like to see the the open system go completely, and then we get these bop bop ding ding pod systems that taste like arse, don't do anything. They do, and they do have their place, but
do you think it's the pod systems because that's easier to manufacture for the pharmaceutical companies?
Yeah,
that's got to be the thing, because I can't think of any other reason why the pod is staying and they want to kill the open system. And the only thing I could think of is that's a product that they can easily manufacture themselves.
They can easily control it. Well, they can easily control that because it's not a refillable device.
Right.
And then we have agencies coming out of the woodwork now stating that, but you can add anything to this and vape it.
Right. That's the whole point.
No. What they're saying is like cocaine, methamphetamine.
Oh,
things
yeah.
You can add whatever the hell you want to one of these devices, and you can vape it. Again, it doesn't really work that way. The technology is there if you want to smoke weed or vape weed, that's there. Yeah. And electronic meth pipes now, they do exist.
Yeah. Well,
I couldn't believe it.
You can get zigzag papers. Doesn't mean that you're just going to roll tobacco with it. I can roll a lot of things with zigzag papers. Yeah, it makes sense. Now, but when you go to the doctor, are you? I'm always one of those guys that I want to get my money's worth. Are you actually getting a fucking physical out of it, or are you just getting a consultation?
Consultation.
That's fuck that. I want a physical.
$85. No,
are they
$85 consultation. No, $85 consultation, right? But get this, they're now trying to limit it to a 3-month supply at a time. So you actually have to go back every 3 months. And some of the doctors are now coming out and saying, but what's your end date? Because we'll cut you off at this point. And I went, hang on a second. We never signed up for this rubbish. This was forced upon us by a health minister who was actually a lawyer, Greg Hunt, rhymes with the C word, yes. And I don't call him that anymore because he's a turkey. And the other thing is that they're trying to limit is also the nicotine levels. Now, a heavy smoker on 40, 50 cigarettes a day or rolling tobacco is going to need something that is quite a lot stronger than 6 milligram, right? Bottom line. And Dr. Colin Mendelsohn, he's been prescribing dual and pod systems that do have 50 milligram and with great results. And again, they do have their part in the ecosystem. But trying to kill off Open vapor, for what reason? That's the big question. We try ever so hard, and then there's been two very, very interesting seminars. One that was with the TGA and the New Zealand counterparts and doctors over there, and the New Zealand doctors made a mockery of the TGA and their prescription model. Then we get to the second panel, which was the TGA again, but UK specialists and harm reduction specialists. Again, they said the same thing. The ex-smoker needs choices. You can't force them into such a narrow box. It doesn't work that way. Over there, well, they'll reach into their drawer and they'll give you a device and liquid if you go and see a doctor.
Right.
Here, it's all you got to jump through the hoops. I'm like, forget it. Another thing that they've also done is they've crushed the level of or the strength of nicotine that you're actually allowed to import. Now, a lot of people know that I develop liquids. Sure. I used to work with 200 milligram because it's very simple to work with. The math is easy and you're not diluting the flavors. They're wanting now to limit that to 50 milligrams. Useless. Absolutely useless. Like in my side of things, sure. But for people that want to get off the cigarettes, yes, it will work. But everyone here in Australia, ever since I started vaping back in 2014, you still have to learn how to mix your nicotine unless you're willing to pay imports, like import fees and taxes and whatever else, and freight charges. For argument's sake, let's just say a box of liquid, right, out of the US. You'll pay $32 in freight, just like, and that's US dollars, not Australian dollars, to get said box of liquid to your doorstep. Right. Why do we have to do that? Why can't we manufacture a co-pack here in Australia and give Australians jobs? Oh, that's too hard. You can't do that. Not allowed to do that. Look, Australia started as a penal colony, and it's feeling we're back there again. We feel like that we're prisoners trying to get out of the rubbish that the government's putting on us. They don't care. And I put a comment like earlier on in chat regarding one of the doctors here. Where is it? The gentleman from where do I put that comment? There. Emerging research, right, suggests that flavors such as green apple are as addictive as nicotine. And this came from Mark Brook from the Lung Foundation here in Australia, the CEO of the Lung Foundation. That's complete and utter bullshit. Really? Green apple is as addictive as nicotine? Oh man! Where do they? And then Mallory said the person's name before. His name's Tahir Turk, right? And he's been on the books of Bloomberg for many, many, many years, right? You have a look at his LinkedIn profile, and he came out and he said that nicotine is only found in the tobacco plant. And I said, and you're a professor of what exactly? Did you do any chemistry when you went to university? Obviously not. Yeah. You're a doctor of what? And he doesn't understand. And we gave him the list of every single object on the planet that has nicotine in it. And then he squirreled away for a minute. Tim got into it the other day, didn't you, with Turk? When you gave him a serve?
I've done it a few times. Yeah.
Tim don't get in trouble.
Yeah, but that turkey, right? I bet you he shortened his last name. It's Turkey. It's not Turk. It's Turkey. Right? He should be dipped in a fucking deep fryer and thrown out the back door.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that he even retweets and talks about stuff that Stanton Glantz talks about. It's like, if that's your supreme leader, Good Lord, I think in one of the comments, I was a little snarky one time. I said, when Simon tells you to eat the pudding and wait for the alien rapture, don't go tuck your head. You know what I mean? You better be right there when it happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's just some people on there that will just get your goat really quickly because they're like, you can tell that they're just ignorant. They're ignorant all the way around. But Charles Gardner, he'll go after him too.
Well, he's jumped in a few times. On my defense. The other day it was quite interesting, right? Because one of the guys was coming after me, and then Clive Bates turned around and subtweeted one of mine, and he said Australia is becoming a laughing stock. They were the leaders in tobacco harm reduction. It's been stagnated now for the last 10 years, and during COVID, it's actually rising again. And they like that.
Oh, yeah.
Simply because, Australia has the highest tobacco taxes in the world now. Okay? And every year it gets increased by 12.5%. Currently they're reaping around $17 billion a year in tobacco tax revenue.
Wow.
Okay? And this is for a country that has 26 million people.
Yeah.
So your average pack of
the best roads. You must have the best roads in the world there.
Okay. Well, I'll take you riding on my bike, and I'll show you the state of the roads here. It's bullshit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Right? No, and then we've got for 26 million people, $17 billion taxes out of tobacco, with an average packet price of 35 Australian dollars per packet for cigarettes. A 50-gram packet of rolling tobacco will set you back anywhere between $125 and $137.
You really gotta want to smoke over there.
Yeah, but now we're finding people that are on unemployment benefits, people lower socioeconomic, people that have had trauma, people that have had other problems, ADHD, mental illness, are using up to 60% of their fortnightly wage on tobacco products, going without food. The homeless problem here is escalating out of control as well because of COVID and because the government is slowing down funding on that side of things. We have a government that doesn't want to sit at the table with us and actually listen to us and talk to the industry on a whole.
Yeah.
They laughed at some of the comments that were made in no, booze is not cheap at all over here anymore. You're paying anywhere between $25 and $30 for a 6-pack of beer. Right, they've nailed that tax as well, and yeah. I don't even want to know what the overall alcohol, what they make per year in that, because everyone in Australia likes a beer or a wine or a bourbon or whatever else.
They love their Fosters there.
Oh, go away with this Foster's bullshit.
I'm kidding. Well, we're gonna jump into news right now with Tim, Paul, and let me find Mr. Timmy's Bumpy.
Me in the news.
Boom.
Woo! that bumper's getting old, man. I'm still waiting for somebody in the chat group to come up with some new ones.
I'm working on one for you, buddy.
Okay, cool. Well, see, at least you have the fortitude to put it together. I thought I could count on my friends in chat to get creative, but that's okay. I'm not holding it against you. They still have time. I'm not holding it against you. So let's tap some papers up. We do have a few things to talk about tonight. I do my damnedest every week to try to find some positive, happy news for everybody, and I think I may have succeeded with at least one today, right? Because it's all about the little battles, right? And sometimes it's here and there. It's very spotty. I would say the greater majority of it is pretty much negative shit all the time. So I can't walk away from it too far. So we got 3 for you. As I'm hacking up a lung from all that vaping that I'm doing.
It's a popcorn seed.
It's all that popcorn lung that I've been contracting over the week. Apologize. I know we've been lying for 20 years. Excuse me. All right, so let's talk about this one first. I think this one's kind of worth talking about. It's the one that I tweeted about earlier, and I said that I always try to go find some kind of a gotcha thing, to make kind of people kind of wake up and smell the coffee a little bit. And I think this one may seem a little subtle on the surface, but I think that there is some causation, some cause and effect to the reason this one exists. Now, mind you, before we even get into the idea of what this particular published report even talks about, you have to understand that this is an annually published report from the Federal Trade Commission every year since 1967 when it comes to combustible tobacco products that are sold on the market. And it really sort of takes a microscope look at the largest tobacco distributors in the United States, and it measures, or at least logs and records, what they spend in terms of sales, what they spend in terms of advertising and marketing, and all the products across the board. So this one, actually, I was not surprised to even see is actually a reality. Now, the article itself, this is not a gotcha headline. This is just a factual headline. And that for the first time in 20 years, the FTC has seen an increase in the cigarette sales between 2019 and 2020.
That's horrible.
Now, I would follow that up and I would say, is anyone here in this group surprised by that at all? Can anyone sit there and say, I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked that their sales have gone up in a year's time. But it's a bit of reality, and I think what we're seeing is a little bit of the trickle-down effect of exactly what the end game was in terms, or is still, in this fight or this war on vaping. But it is true. So the FTC has published a report this year, and the number of cigarettes, so they measured the number of cigarettes sold by the largest cigarette companies in the U.S., and they had an increase in sales in 2019 from 202.9 billion. Billion. 202.9 billion in cigarette sales to retailers and wholesalers. Okay, so this is not the end user, right? So, but this is what they're selling to the retailers and the wholesalers, from 202.9 billion up to 203.7 billion in the year 2020.
Wow.
Now, what does that boil down to? Does that boil down to this monstrosity of a percentage number that really is going to be more of the gotcha headline? No, not really. I mean, when you really kind of do the differential between the two, it's like a 0.04% increase. But the fact of the matter is, and I think what stands out the most is it's an increase, okay? It's not a decrease in sales. Nope. But an increase in sales. And so this is all equated to one particular thing, is that the more that cigarette sales increases, it's relevant to the amount of money that the states receive for the MSA agreement in order to pay back the defaulting bonds that they've taken out the year previous, so that they can put erroneous cash into all kinds of programs and fund different things that have nothing to do with smoking at all. Or spend large portions of it towards tobacco prevention programs, which is what they're supposed to spend some of that money on. So, in conjunction with the fact that there was an increase in combustible tobacco sales to retailers and wholesales, smokeless tobacco sales actually increased as well. So that number is significantly lower, but it's relevant in that this is measured in pounds. So smokeless tobacco sales increased from 126 million pounds. So you're talking about dips and things like that, pouches, smokeless tobaccos. In 2019 to 126.9 million pounds in 2020. The relevant revenue from those increases means that smokeless tobacco rose from $4.53 billion in sales in 2019 to $4.82 billion in 2020. And then, last but not least, they added to this report in the last year, and for the first time, the commission is reporting sales of nicotine pouches and lozenges. They are, by most standards, newer products, right? This is sort of big tobacco's way of saying, well, let's put something out on the market that gets people their nicotine, but doesn't have all the chemicals involved in it. But this is the statement that I had to kind of chuckle at. It said, for the first time, the commission is reporting sales of nicotine pouches and lozenges which don't contain tobacco. Okay, so while they will openly say that, there's no tobacco, we have to put on every freaking product in the vaping industry that it contains nicotine and it is a tobacco product. Even the mod that you buy with TPD requirements has a big old fat blazing sign on the side of the box that says this product contains nicotine, which is a tobacco product and is harmful, right? But yet the FTC says pouches and lozenges don't contain tobacco. Well, you're talking about nicotine. So unless it's synthetic, which someone said to me, well, even synthetic nicotine comes from the tobacco plant. But is that true, Paul?
What's that?
What?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't even know that.
Someone had said to me that even synthetic nicotine can still be tied back to the tobacco to the tobacco plant. I thought it was a purely lab created nicotine strain.
No, it isn't. Certain forms of synthetic nicotine use the actual tobacco or the nicotine rancid, like the core element. But now that's where you get RS isomer. The R is the rancid, S isomer is just purely synthetic. It now can be completely manufactured in a lab. So you don't have to use any of the base or the starter that comes from the tobacco. Right. Even some of the salts that they're stating that are TFN, they still have a percentage of the back end of tobacco. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mallory's saying it also comes from potatoes, tomatoes, and eggplants.
Well, TFN, Mallory, not yet. The technology's not really there for extracting, because you're only getting like nanograms out of each of those products. You're not getting like milligrams. So no, the technology's still not there for that yet, but there is the proper technology now to make a completely unique S isomer in the lab. Yeah.
Okay. And so there is some truth to the statement.
There is.
Pouches and lozenges equated to about $428 million in revenue to the tobacco companies. And then, by way of comparison, the amount spent on cigarette advertising and promotion increased in the last year as well. From 7.62 billion to 7.84 billion in 2020. But this is they say this is attributable to the amount paid for price discounts to retailers and wholesalers. The discounts accounted for about 88.5% of industry spending. So of the money that they spent on marketing and advertising, a large portion of that was spent on discounts to try to keep the cost of those products a little bit lower. Shocker, to make it more available, readily available to people. Because I mean, when you're looking at a pricey dollar bottle of e-liquid, and you can go buy a pack of smokes for a lot cheaper, the average Joe probably is going to turn to the pack of smokes before they stick to vaping. And the same type of trend applied to smokeless tobacco products as well. And also, for the first time, they included information on flavors sold by tobacco companies. I found this one a little interesting myself, although I'm not shocked by the first comment, and that was that mentholated cigarettes accounted for over half of the total sales revenues of the cigarette companies. So 54.5%. So I'm even more surprised that the big tobacco advocates aren't somehow swaying the decision of some of these cities and states that are levying menthol cigarette bans in their towns. Because if mentholated cigarettes account for over half of the total number of sales,
Yeah.
and they're going to lose that with a menthol cigarette ban in a city or a town, some would argue that, that it targets communities of color disproportionately, because that's who they try to market those particular products towards. If half of your revenue comes from mentholated cigarettes, that doesn't mean that only one particular community is helping you to garner that over 50% of total revenue sales. Tobacco flavored items, or just tobacco products themselves alone, were responsible for 43.4%. And get this, folks, and fruit flavored smokeless tobacco products were only made up for about 2.5% of that revenue. So if flavors are the big dagger in all this, how come only 2.5% of the total revenue amounts to a fruit flavored product that a tobacco company is selling? The numbers are a little weird.
Yeah.
So the report has been issued annually, and I mentioned this since 1967, and then smokeless tobacco reporting started in 1987. But they state at the very end of the article that due to the concerning trend in sales, the Federal Trade Commission will continue to expand its approach in reporting shifts in the tobacco industry and to align the Commission's enforcement efforts with the emergent realities in the tobacco industry. And that's fine. They can say whatever they want to say. I'm just going to guess, since it's a government-run agency, they're just going to turn a blind eye anyway, because this is what government wants. They want people smoking. They want people sick and addicted. They want the cigarette sales because they want that money flowing into their states, and they want the lobbyists fighting for it and giving them money as well. So my takeaway on that article was that I kind of feel like some of this, at least a portion of that 0.04% increase in sales, is attributable to the war on vaping, because vaping could effectively destroy that number. So if more people are buying vaping products instead of tobacco products like this, that number would be even lower. And I feel like some of the increase in sales probably is an attempt to sort of slowly kind of make up for the losses that they've had year after year. Because I don't have any number to compare that to. I'd have to go back and pull all the older reports and see if there was a decrease in cigarette sales from the big tobacco companies when vaping wasn't really sort of being kind of filled full of lead over the last, more than the last 4, but more recently, and at least in the last 3. I said this is MSA trying to make up for the losses it suffered to the hands of successive vaping as THR. So there's that. So no one should be shocked at the fact that there was an increase in cigarette sales, but it's a gotcha headline. It's like, hey, do you understand now? Why, if you're taking away the healthier alternative, and you're basically pushing people to go right back to smoking. Which, how can anyone refute the evidence behind smoking? All right, so there's that one. All right, so now for the feel-good story of the night. Is everybody ready for the feel-good story of the night?
Yes.
I think everyone is quite more than aware of the fact that the PMTA process has effectively taken out over about 6 million different products. I can't even count the number of companies that have been issued MDOs along the way. As a matter of fact, a lot of the big names that we're accustomed to are on that list as well. So the MDO stands for Market Denial Order. This was the end result of the FDA's PMTA, Pre-Market Tobacco Authorization process, in which companies that file their PMTAs on time, got them in, and were going through the process, right at the 11th hour, when they were set to have completed this entire process by September 9th, 2021, they basically just started firing off MDO letters to all these major companies. And we're talking about mom and pop size companies all the way up to the big heavy hitters who put a lot of money behind submitting scientific studies, or at least what they were required to submit in order to make the argument that you could prove that vaping had a net health, a positive net health result on helping adults to quit smoking, and at the same time helped reduce youth vaping in the same breath. But the FDA was just throwing out MDOs like they were candy for the last couple weeks, right at the 11th hour. So the feel-good story of the night is, and I think we're all aware of at least one company that got a reversal on their MDO, but that was initiated by the FDA itself.
Two
the
now.
FDA, two now, yeah. Fumizer, I believe, was the other company.
Triton.
Well, hold on, we'll get to that, Paul. The other company, which was by name, that one was have it in parentheses here somewhere. Turning Point Brands. The Turning Point had Fumizer and Turning Point had their MDOs reversed by the FDA directly in light of new evidence. This one's a little bit different.
New evidence. I love that one. it's just such a, what's the
New
word?
evidence.
Magic. It's magic.
It is
It's
magic.
magic. It's magic.
It's Exhibit A's. So Triton got there's a litany of appeals that have been filed in the circuit court systems for vaping companies who received MDOs, and now they're trying to get an appeal against their MDO. And in order to go forward with that appeal, they have to get a stay of their MDO. And so they're taking that to the federal court systems, the circuit courts. There's a multitude of them. I think last count, at least the graphic that I saw, was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30 different companies that had brought on lawyer teams and filed active appeals in the circuit courts to get their MDOs stayed, and so that they could file an appeal against the ruling of that MDO. My guess is there's probably more now. There's probably even more that are in the works, and just the cases aren't filed yet. But expect that number to grow over time. This was the first one that actually had their case heard by a panel of judges in the circuit court. So let's talk about that. So this is a bit of a feel-good story in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
So if the federal court has granted a stay to Triton Distribution regarding their MDO enforcement by the FDA. So this was a three-judge panel in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I don't know where that's located per se. There's multiple courts of appeals. This is the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and they found that Triton, they also have an alternate name, also known as Wages and White Line Investments Limited Liability Company, is likely. They ruled that they're likely to succeed in their MDO appeal, and therefore issued a stay. And then the reason that they're likely to succeed in what the judges ruled upon was that if their appeal is likely will succeed due to the fact that the FDA MDO order is likely arbitrary, capricious, or otherwise, I love this word that's coming up, unlawful.
Unlawful.
So in that sense, that it was a crock of horse shit that they got an MDO without substantial evidence to prove why they were issued an MDO, even when these companies were following the rules verbatim and submitting the data and the information that the FDA requested. The decision allows Triton to continue to sell its products while the court reviews the FDA denial order. So, in short, what that means is that they were issued a stay. They are allowed to proceed with their appeals court case so they can appeal the MDA, that which is also a litigation in and of its own right. So their stay is active for as long as it takes to complete that appeal, right? So if it takes 2 months or it takes another fiscal calendar year, that's how long Triton is allowed to keep those products on the shelf. So it's another form of an extension, although they're still going to litigate the MDO. This is the first stay issued by a court in a legal challenge to the agency's MDOs. So, but this sets a precedent now, right? So this one alone could be the backbone for all the other dominoes falling and other companies more easily being able to make their case because they were up against the exact same prerequisites and requirements that the FDA laid out for them. So moving along, and we just mentioned this, that 2 other companies had their MDOs rescinded by the FDA directly. These were not court cases. The FDA backed off and retracted the MDOs based on what they said was overlooked evidence. So they issued the MDO, and then these companies went back and said, hey, but we did submit that evidence, and you guys just breezed right over it. Like, you didn't even take a look at it. Like, what the shit you were asking for, we paid for and started this process, and you just basically threw it out like a rag doll. And that was Turning Point Brands and Fumizer. I don't know much about Fumizer. I don't know what brands they sell. I don't know what they do.
I wonder how many of the PMTAs I had to be, because I think they attacked all the companies that had huge amounts of data that they want to just clean up house with. I'm wondering if they were one of those that had this outrageous number of products that they were trying to push through.
I'm not really sure. I could do some back end research on Fumizer and try to figure out who they're associated to. It would seem that most of these major these major companies that had their MDOs even reconsidered, probably are an umbrella LLC for multiple brands that we all vape. Right, I do have it listed out at the very end of this article exactly who Triton represents. So we'll get to that at the bottom of all the statements. The court found that the FDA moved the goalposts for companies submitting PMTAs in the years following the 2016 deeming rule. Submission dates changed several. These are some of the elements that they talk about the goalposts. So submission dates changed several times after explaining that manufacturers could submit PMTAs without long-term scientific evidence, only to later change their mind and required the very thing that they said that they would not. So basically they started out and said, don't worry, just put your PMTAs in. You don't need to submit the long-term study information. And then after the PMTAs were submitted, then they just started changing the rules. Then they all of a sudden came up and said, well, no, now we need the long-term studies. So you can't do that to somebody. Like, you're basically just saying, okay, yeah, no, this is fine. We'll take it as it is, and this is sufficient for us. And, oh, well, now we changed our mind. So now it's garbage. Throw it out. MDO for you. MDO for you. And you get an MDO, and you get an MDO.
You get one. Everybody gets an Oprah.
The FDA also cited a new standard of evidence, which was not explained in advance. So basically, they changed that rule along the way too. So basically, the standards even changed. And I don't even know if these people got. I think there was what were they called? RTPs or RTOs or something like that, where basically they were supposedly some of these companies were said, hey, look, this is insufficient information. We need more from you. I do believe that there were some companies that were issued letters like that. And they just basically failed. They opted not to follow through and resubmit the information as requested. I'm not calling them out or pushing them under the bus. Everybody was up against the same standard. Yeah. So basically, the federal court rejected the last-minute change of evidentiary standards. The quote was, many e-cigarette companies relied on the FDA's repeated insistence that it did not expect applicants to conduct long-term studies to support the application. So citing previous decisions, if you go, you can actually, I have the link, and if you guys are interested in it, RTF, thank you, request to file or something like that.
No,
I think that's what
refuse to file.
Okay, refuse to file. Okay. Right. There is, you can actually find it. As a matter of fact, if I send you this link to this particular article. Yeah, if you go down right here, if you look at this PDF, this is the actual ruling. So you can see all the other cases that are used, that are cited and used as why the judges made the ruling that they did. If you really are interested in all that, you can go look at all the other cases that were used as the basis for the ruling. So let me get back to my bullet points here. I just wanted to point that out. So if you take that article, you can go find the full ruling that was issued.
I'm posting it right now, the link for everyone.
Perfect. So citing previous decisions, one of the three judges, Judge Oldham, this is going to be the catch term. This is the one I think that's going to get hashtagged real quickly, and then you saw it in a bunch of tweets today because this came out. So get ready for your hashtag of the week. the one that probably should trend at this point. Citing previous decisions, Judge Oldham described the FDA's actions in rejecting Triton's PMTA as in quotes, a surprise switcheroo. That was the judge's terminology for what the FDA pulled on Triton. And,
Tim, that just shows the age of these judges using the word switcheroo. Dude.
Well, yeah, and
that's an old word.
True, and it's really catchy. Just the word switcheroo. So if you want to talk about the nonsense of the FDA and the PMTA rulings and how this was such a false process, switcheroo I think is going to become. I think you're going to start seeing that one trend in the vaping community. The switcheroo.
I'm working on a liquid right now. The switcheroo.
And there you go. The switcheroo. And that means more dad words are going to get used now in the vaping space. So hashtag malarkey. Right there you go. Yeah. That one's going to come up. All right. So the panel found that the FDA arguments against the stay were deficient on other points as well, and also rejected an amicus curiae. We've talked about those before. If you all hate Latin, I'm sorry. That's the effing terminology they use. An amicus curiae, for those who don't know what an amicus curiae is basically that is a argument or a letter drawn in support of one side or the other that have no particular stake in the particular case that's in front of the judges. So, for example, there was an amicus curiae that came out not that long ago with regard to some of the cases that were filed in the federal courts and trying to aim for the Supreme Court, and that was the moose juice case and all that stuff, where they were basically trying to fight the fact that particular amendments were violated, and the deeming rule in and of itself was not filed by an actual ruling official FDA representative, that it was an interim representative that actually filed the deeming rule on the Federal Register, and they tried to say that Dunkaroos, that in fact that was not a proper process. In which case, 3 senators, I believe, stood up. I think I don't remember all the names that were behind that. Senator Ron Johnson, I believe, was one of them, and a couple more filed an amicus curiae in favor of moose juice to try to help argue on their side. Basically, like getting like a good character witness on your side. Yeah. So these 3 federal judges rejected the amicus curiae that was filed in support of the FDA's ruling by none other than what group decided to write that letter? Who do you think it might be? If you had to name one person that would stand up and take the side of the FDA.
Asshat's Anonymous?
Well, they all are under that umbrella name.
Yeah, all right. Well,
Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids.
I was going to say Campaign for
Tobacco-Free Kids was the one that drafted the amicus curiae in support of the FDA's MDO against Triton. In its response to Triton's motion for stay, the FDA's Justice Department lawyers argued that the court could not compel the FDA to allow Triton to sell products without enforcement by issuing a stay. I don't know, I mean, to kind of tear that apart. In its response to Triton's motion for stay, the FDA's Justice Department lawyers argued that the court could not compel the FDA to allow Triton to sell products without enforcement by issuing a stay. That's kind of like, okay, fine, go ahead and give them a stay, but we still get to basically enforce what we want against their liquids. We can say you can't sell it. So, I mean, what kind of fucking argument is that? I mean, that's just a bunch of... Here's another... That's a bunch of horse pucky.
Oh, there's a new one. There's another one.
A bunch of horse pucky. Yeah. Look, I'm just drawing on what the lectures my dad gave me over the years. So...
I'm going to throw some Italian...
Those ones stuck. Those ones stuck. Probably because I was laughing.
Yeah.
I was laughing loudly inside as he's screaming at
Tim,
me.
you were laughing loudly, and you were trying out how to figure out how to spell it properly.
Yeah.
I know you. All right, how do you spell malarkey again, Dad?
Mularkey. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
When you were 8 or 9, you were like, "What the fuck? Where'd you pull that word out of your ass, Dad?"
Probably from like 1942 or wherever his parents got it from. Anyway, this decision again, and I already stated it before. This decision applies to only to Triton, so it's not the umbrella for everybody. And this is only active until the completion of the MDO appeal. However, there's always a but. In this case, it's a however. Attorneys and other circuit court appeals can use this reasoning to make their own arguments as well. Right. So, in effect, basically, all the other circuit court stay appeals that are coming up for litigation, they can take this particular ruling and use it to say that the same treatment was levied against. So, you're probably going to see a bunch of stays get granted and the appeals reviewed. Don't know what's going to come out of the appeals process, but as it stands, the judges feel as though the appeals will be won by these companies just based on the factual information of how they move the goalposts so many times. Yeah. Here's what Triton sells. So if anybody is a fan of these particular liquids or products, yes. Triton sells brands such as Suicide Bunny, Boilermaker, Vape Hooligan, Chewy Clouds, and Telios.
Yeah, Suicide Bunny is the only one I know in that names.
Telios is familiar to me.
Yeah.
But that's the brand names that they represent. So it's good news, I think, overall. I think this is going to bode well for a lot of the companies that are trying to keep their products still on the shelves, because we had said, with the vape mail ban, that offers challenges in conjunction with MDOs forcing companies to take their flavors off the shelf because they got the MDO, and in conjunction with the other thing that they're trying to get passed on down the pike, which is effectively the nicotine or tobacco tax they're trying to get passed through. But this was my feeling, at least my takeaway on exactly what all this means. I fully believe that in my takeaway that the FDA knew that this was going to happen. I think they knew they were going to get challenged heavily on these MDOs as they were issued. I think they even knew that they were going to be taken to task and that a lot of stays were going to be levied, only to do one thing. And I think that this was a move by the FDA in conjunction with the federal government to try to buy time. I think that they knew that these things were going to get dragged through the courts and that these things were going to take some time to get settled. And what that would do is it would buy the federal government time to take action elsewhere, in which case I'm talking about the nicotine tax, which if anybody has been following that one, which is on CASA, you can go on CASA under the national header, and you can speak out against this nicotine tobacco tax. The nicotine tobacco tax bill, or the proposal, at least for what it's worth, is now pork filler in Biden's Build Back Better budget bill, which he's trying, the $4.3 trillion bill that he's trying to get pushed through Congress. They've now thrown the nicotine tax bill as pork filler in that. Yep. So what that means is that it's become even harder now for us to fight it. Simply because there's gonna be people that oppose that bill in general anyway, but they're trying to garner support for it. And what that means is if they can get other representatives within Congress to bite on this Build Back Better bill, that this nicotine tax thing is just going to get pushed, ramrodded right through. It's just going to get right through because they're going to be like, we got the vote because we got them to look at this particular stuff. But we want people to consider the fact that if this goes through, not only is it going to train wreck the vaping community, especially the people that are not going to be able to afford vaping now, right? Because they're going to put a tax on a bottle of juice that's outrageous. That's going to say, well, cigarettes are cheaper. It's even more cheaper now than me buying that 60 ml bottle of juice. We're going to be funding the Build Back Better bill.
Yep.
Basically, if we decide to stick with vaping and pay for what it is that we want because we don't want to go back to cigarettes, we're helping to fund that $4.3 trillion bill. Whether or not it ends up being $2.2 trillion or $1.2 trillion or whatever it's going to boil down to, we're going to be paying for that. We're funding it. So just understand that, right? So I think that they were trying to buy time to try to get this through so that they could get this nicotine tax thing to drop, and that would effectively kind of like, so what about the MDOs? Now people don't want to pay for it. So there's that. And then the last thing that I'm going to talk about is
You're muted, Paul.
the last thing that so that's, it's just an important thing. I think this is a feel good thing. I hope that a bunch of these appeals get turned over altogether, and that a lot of these companies can stay and survive for what it's worth. But the last thing is advocacy. I did mention the nicotine tax thing. If you guys want to get on CASA's website and go over to the national section, you can find the section under the national header for Fight the Nicotine Tax. This one is a little bit more direct. This is something that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show. This one is aimed at Washington. What is it? It's Washington County, Oregon. If you live anywhere in the Washington County, Oregon area, you need to get on to CASA and go to your local area. They have a proposal on the table right now. They're moving forward with a proposal to ban the sale of flavored nicotine products, synthetic or tobacco derived.
They got some art.
Right. So what started as a proposal to limit the sales of flavored products to adult-only establishments is now a full-blown flavor ban and a prohibition on discounts and coupons. So they are going to have a public hearing period, with an open public commentary period, or at least you can tune into the hearing and hear what they have to say. That will be on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021 at 10 a.m. on a virtual Zoom call. You can testify. You can actually be on the Zoom call. If you can get your name on the list, you can speak out. You can share your story. You can oppose exactly what this flavor ban. Oops, there's all my address information. We don't want that. But this is literally, here, I'll delete it really quick. Here, somebody probably just screenshot it.
Sorry, you got to delete it real quick. Screenshot that, everyone.
Yeah, so anyway.
Quick.
Oh,
they'd auto-filled, right? So my fault. But this is basically how easy it is on CASA. You go to that section for the call to action.
Yeah.
You basically just fill in these general cells, which if you have autofill turned on, it does it for you. And they have a letter already drafted for you that you can submit off to that particular cause. Now, in this case, it doesn't list out any representatives that it's going to send it to, but I can send this in support of the Washington County.
That's because you're not from that area, Tim.
Right, but I can speak out in support of this for or speak out in support against this particular flavor ban or ban. So that said, that's basically how easy it is on CASA's website to go ahead and stand up for advocacy. So that's our stories for tonight. That's our advocacy. Thanks for listening. Thanks for putting up with my mouthy, wordy self. And we'll see you again next week with more news and advocacy.
Real quick, Timmy.
Yes.
Let me put this up here. She has been waiting. She's been anticipating. Here it is, people.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
Morgan is officially on Twitter.
Yes, I followed her.
So Timmy, send her her first retweet
for CASA.
Yeah,
the national one or
whatever you want her to tweet for the first time ever on her page. Tim is going to do it for her.
We're gonna do the nicotine tax.
There you go. And also some good news. The man that you see right there, Mr. Labworks Paul, will be a host. He is a new host to the show. I don't know how many times a week we're going to get him, or how many times a month we should say we can get him, but he will. Yeah,
there you go, Morgan. In the air. In the private chat.
But I want to personally thank and welcome Paul to the show. He's going to be an official host and member of the Wednesday Night Live, and I think it's great because he's going to bring us the worldview. So we're going to be able to see what's going on outside of the U.S.
Such a worldly man.
Yeah, he's a well-traveled man. So we're gonna. He just shakes his head.
It's like I've seen the world. I've seen the world through my computer monitor.
He's seen it. No,
with the lockdown.
Don't talk about the lockdown, please, please.
Yeah, he is going to give us a look of what's going on that side of the world there in Australia and in England and everything like that. So he's going to bring a lot of knowledge to the show, and I'm really grateful to get him as many times a month as we can get him on the show. Welcome, Paul.
we also might do some sciencey things.
That'd be cool.
I'll
We
bring
need
some
sciencey
friends.
things. Yeah, we
bring
need
some
sciencey
friends.
things.
I'll bring some friends too.
Yeah,
real doctor type friends.
yeah. Well,
Oh,
we're happy to have you here. So I'm glad.
Well, DIYing is a popular thing now.
Yeah.
So.
Did you do it yet? Let's see it.
Well, okay. I've copied the link in there, but should I
say
first
fight the nicotine tax? Like show your enthusiasm, Morgan.
Yeah, come on.
Like say something to that effect. Like don't let them taxation without representation. Fight the nicotine tax.
Go all the way back down to the 1700s there with that one.
I'm trying to help a girl out.
I'm trying to. Well, I want to thank everybody. Thank Morgan for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Filling in for the Wisconsin. Tom is taking care of some things. He'll be back here soon, but he needed some time off, so we give him some time off, and we're gonna have. We have to have a Wisconsinite, right? Is that the proper term? Wisconsinite.
Yeah, Wisconsinite.
I did get excited, Luke, didn't
I? Tim got a little excited.
I can't stand up for the next 10 minutes. It'll be all right.
Really?
And no Viagra needed. You can get that pill for free, But yeah. Is it up there yet?
Yeah, it's up.
All right, let me
refresh that screen.
Let's see it. Dun, dun,
bam! There you go.
Here we go.
Well done, Morgan.
Woo, I'm gonna give you.
Somebody retweeted that motherfucker already. Look at that.
Retweeted. See that? See how that works? See how easy that was?
Chris did. Thank you, Chris.
And newbie with her.
I'm curious.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm curious about the exotic animals. What are they? What do we got?
So I have 5 ball pythons, a bearded dragon, a crested gecko, and 3 tarantulas.
But do you have a Komodo? Do you have a Komodo dragon?
I would not own a Komodo dragon.
It'll eat her cats. It'll eat her cats.
That too. I do want a tegu one day, though. I want a tegu so badly. Of course, there's no room in this apartment. But one day when I have my own house, I want a tegu.
All right, guys, we're way over. Again, thank you, Morgan, for jumping in. I appreciate you jumping in for Tom. And our new host of our show, Paul, will be joining us. Welcome to the show, Paul. Tim is the man. He is the man.
I'm just a dude, bro.
He's just a dude. I'm just a dude, man. I'm just a dude. He's just a dude. Well,
dude, bro.
I appreciate you. And again, everybody, just get on Twitter. It's that easy. We just showed you. Morgan signed up today. Retweeted our first thing. Got a friggin'
She's going to be a Twitter star. Look at what we did.
Yeah, we created a monster. A monster. And like I said, guys, sign up for Twitter. Join CASA. Join the Facebook advocacy groups. Start researching. Do your research. Dedicate whatever amount of time that you have available each week to advocacy. And get ready to post on Twitter and Facebook groups. And like I said, that's it. That's it. It's that simple. Get the voice out there.
Easy.
That easy, man. All right, Paul, Tim, and Morgan, thank you again. We'll see everybody.
Thanks, chat. We love you guys.
Everybody on chat.
See you guys.
We'll see everybody next week. Peace.
Later.